it's Shane Conto, your Wasteland reviewer, and welcome to the Wasteland Retrospective here on the SPM Crew Podcasting Network. And this is my weekly show where my guest and I each pick a film related in some shape or form. And hopefully by the end of this episode, you have two films to go check out. And joining me, as always, each month is my collaborator and friend, Jeff. Thank you so much for coming on.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And we're doing a bit of double dose of flicks centered around music, starring Jack Black. We have High Fidelity and School of Rock. So let's get started with High Fidelity. Rob, a record store owner and compulsive list maker, recounts his top five breakups, including the one in progress, from director Stephen Frears and starring John Cusack. So, Jeff, what are your general thoughts on High Fidelity?
So this was my second time watching it. I I really enjoy this film for a lot of reasons. A lot of great music.
Mhm.
It's Chicago as hell, which is it's my hometown. I love Chicago, so I love seeing Chicago on screen. The corner where the record shop is, I've actually passed by a bunch of times before I even knew and before I'd even watched this film.
Mhm.
It's in Milwaukee in Honor, I believe. Yeah, it's right in smack dab Wicker Park, and I used to go by there all the time in college. Um, it's just yeah, it's just a fun film. I really liked, and this was a kind of um like the peak of like John Cusack.
Yeah.
John Cusack characters being like weirdly the influence for Ted Mosby and How I Met Your Mother. Like every single bit, because I just watched Serendipity right before I watched this too, and I'm like,
Mhm.
if you put High Fidelity and Serendipity together, it's Ted Mosby,
There you go.
and which is a show that I love and a character that I love. So I'm like all for it. So I like this film a lot, actually.
This is probably the third or fourth time that I've watched this movie, and there's definitely a lot of things that I love about it. I do love the music centric and injected kind of story. I do enjoy the list storytelling element to it
Hmm.
because many of film fans love making lists. Just look at Letterboxd, and it's just one of those things where like that's a fun little dynamic between him and his co-workers there at the record store, but then also it becomes such a big framework for this film and him processing these
Yeah.
previous relationships. And I think John Cusack is great. I do think Rob's a little insufferable at times, but I appreciate the journey and self-realization that he has to reach
Yeah.
to be able to grow. And Laura Ibn Hedje, I don't know how to say her last name. Um, this is such a big breakup for him, and he has such strong connection. And what's interesting is I feel like I also like her growth because by the end of this movie, both of them are in different places, and I think they're both in places where they need to be for this relationship to work
Hmm.
because she takes a little bit more ownership and assertiveness in the relationship. And boy, does he not know how to let go. He does not take no for an answer,
Yeah.
and he's very persistent. And then I think one of the like fun highlights of the film is just manic energy Jack Black, who keeps popping in and out of the film, who's a lot of fun, especially his performance at the end. Unexpected choice of music and absolutely nails it. But no, I
Hmm.
think I think this film is one of those kinds of films that like really strikes a chord with people because
Yeah.
it hits on a few very specific kinds of things. And also like I was reflecting upon this, like John Cusack hasn't been in like a ton recently, and
Hmm.
especially nothing that's like been big and really got attention, which is a shame because I do really enjoy him in a lot of his films.
Me too. Yeah, I like him a lot.
I guess were there what other specific things stood out to you most about the film?
So I wanted to ask, have you watched this like the series on Hulu, High
Yes.
Fidelity? I
Hmm.
so I never watched it.
Hmm.
How is that compared to this? I've always I don't know anybody else who's actually watched it.
I enjoyed the show a lot. It because it's a series, it gets the opportunity to kind of spread the love with some of the other characters and
Hmm.
then getting like centric episodes. What's most interesting is the main character, owns a record shop, is played by Zoe Kravitz,
Hmm.
who whose mother is in this, Lisa
Yeah.
Bonet. And I'm like, I don't recall if they specifically acknowledged it, which I don't think they did, but in my head canon, she got pregnant, had a kid, and this is John Cusack's daughter. Um,
Well, so one thing that I was thinking about through this whole movie, so I didn't know that Lisa Bonet was her mom, and,
mhm,
until you just said it, and so now it makes a lot more sense. Where I'm like, oh my god, that's because like throughout this entire movie, I'm thinking, wow, she looks a lot like Zoe Kravitz,
yeah,
and I looked up the show, and I was like, well, maybe it's like a continuation of the movie or something, and she's playing like Lisa Bonet's daughter, like in the world of that show, or in the world of the movie in the show. But she's not. She's playing another character named like Rob or something.
yeah.
And so I was like, oh, that's kind of I feel like that's kind of a missed opportunity there. But no, now that you say that, like that is her actual daughter, I'm like, well, it makes a whole lot of sense that she's in the show at the way
Mhm.
she is.
Which I would like to think that there is some kind of relation there, but I don't think they
Hmm.
actually made that canon. But this, I appreciate this film because there's a lot of fun little storytelling elements that they throw in here, like the whole entire like confrontation in the record store with Ian,
Hmm.
with Tim Robbins, and
Yeah.
how they keep seeing different versions of how this conversation plays out.
Yeah, I like that
um
shot a lot.
God, and Tim Robbins and his disgusting ponytail. I'm just like, I want to like get a pair of scissors and just like cut it off. um it's I appreciate that eventually they got called out
Hmm.
for being pretentious at the record store, because like Jack Black's character Barry is not exactly like the nicest guy.
Hmm.
He's very aggressive, like he was messing around with like what's like the guy's a nerd and didn't want to sell him the record. And it's they have an interesting dynamic, and like Dick, who's very like laid back. That was one of the nicest moments where like he got a girlfriend. I'm just like, yes, I'm
Yeah.
very happy for him because he's a nice guy and deserves better than just like, because Rob could be so self-loathing and just miserable. But I do really enjoy like John Cusack really sells the speaking to the camera moments. I think one of my favorite scenes in the film is when he does his top 5 things that he really loves about her.
Yeah, and I know exactly the bridge he's on too. I live in Chicago. I used to walk that bridge all the time.
It was one of those shots where I'm just like, I have seen this in so many movies.
Hmm.
Um, for sure. But like I just love that. And there's so many wonderful moments with it. Um, on some level, I kind of feel seen with the obnoxious list making,
Yeah.
and the incessant need to like organize his records and stuff like that. It just, like I said, he can be really insufferable and self-loathing, but I enjoy his journey and his process of this. And like, you even have some like Lisa Bonet, Catherine Zeta-Jones, which like Charlie is a beautiful woman, but not a nice person.
Hmm.
And it just like she could get away with not being a nice person. Even like having like Joan Cusack pop in for a little bit there. This just has such a wonderful cast. It has a lot of great moments and very memorable moments. And at the end of the day, it goes through a very effective and impactful story of growth for Rob. And, you know, there's so many times where you're just sitting there like, why are you doing this? And I think it makes it even more impactful by the end when he finally starts, making the right decisions. And
Hmm.
he's like, okay, I think Rob is going to be okay. And after this almost 2 hour movie, I'm glad that I have that to walk away with because I was worried. I was worried there for a while. I'm like, I don't think he's going to. So I think that this film really sells that well.
Yeah, I agree. I just it just like kind of what you said earlier. It just kind of hit me in like a very special spot in my heart. Listing all the things, being kind of that like hopeless romantic that he is, the
Mhm.
musical aspect of it, obviously it being from Chicago, like it really, all of these things just kind of culminate into like a picture that I just really resonate with.
Absolutely. And it's one of those kinds of films that this is such a snapshot of
Hmm.
2000. And I really appreciate that about it. And the fact that they actually got Bruce Springsteen to be in this movie was wild.
Yeah, I like that little moment. It was kind of like in the like in Annie Hall where he like pulls the random guy in who wrote the thing, and it's just
Mhm.
like, oh, just like a random like celebrity cameo. I was like, that was pretty funny.
Yeah. I didn't really think about that, but I guess there's a lot of rom-coms that obviously borrow from a lot of Woody Allen
Oh yeah, I would
films.
say most of them do.
Yeah, at this point, and I think there's some flourishings here. There's a neuroticism to Rob that I think is very Woody Allen protagonist
Hmm.
protagonist-esque for sure. But I guess Jeff, do you have any other thoughts on High Fidelity?
No, I like it. I'm gonna keep coming back to it. Probably not very often, but I can see myself coming back to it more and more as time goes on.
That's very fair. And let's shift gears into 2003's School of Rock. After being kicked out of his rock band, Dewey Finn becomes a substitute teacher of an uptight elementary private school, only to try and turn his class into a rock band. And this is from writer Mike White, creator of White Lotus. Um, came a long way. And from director Richard Linklater, Mike White actually pops up in it as Ned Schneebly. But this is starring Jack Black, and this is such a very Jack Black kind of movie. Dewey's a very Jack Black kind of character. But Jeff, what are your general thoughts on School of Rock?
I really, really, really like this film. I grew up watching this film.
Mm,
I mean, not grew up, but like I like when it came out, me and my parents and my sister, we burned this DVD. Like we
mhm.
burned out this DVD in our player because it was just something we loved watching. Um, I think it's a good like comedy for like the family.
Yeah.
Even though it's PG-13, like it's still got like really good moments where you could like have fun with your whole family watching it.
I never noticed this was PG-13. Because because a lot of this is it's a story about kids. And
Yeah, it's
also
it's very it's very easy. Like there's really not a lot of cursing. I mean, there's a couple of questionable moments, but like
Mhm.
if you're a kid, like I don't like when I was a kid, I did not understand the questionable moments. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I like the whole like I'm pretty sure your kids have touched me. I'm pretty sure I've touched them. Like that's a great moment, but like kids don't understand that. But and
The
I know I didn't, but like you could still like understand that it's funny.
the look on his face when he came to the
Yeah.
realization of what he just said, and the looks on the parents' faces. It's
Hmm.
such a great moment. And this is such an interesting diversion for Richard Linklater.
Yeah.
And he has a few of these, and I'm a huge Bad News Bears fan, the original film, and I enjoy his adaptation. Like it's basically the same thing, just
Hmm.
a little bit more family friendly and less 70s feeling. But I appreciate that Richard Linklater could go in and do some fun, like family oriented kind of movies like this. And this
Yeah.
is certainly much more accessible to a mainstream audience than like two people falling in love, walking around and talking for a whole entire movie. Not
Oh
that I don't
yeah.
love the Before trilogy because they are great films, but like has that like mass appeal, and I feel like this is like really like big Jack Black kind of moment, and it's so funny because I there's something about Dewey that really connects with me because this movie really captures the shift in rock music too,
Yeah.
because the band that he's in sounds like so post grunge when they perform at the end. I'm just like, this sounds like this would be on my brother's playlist that he shared with me
Hmm.
when he listens to nothing but 90s and early 2000s rock music. And Dewey has that like a love for like classic rock and metal, and I'm just like, I love Dewey and
Yeah.
like
This is
channeling
where I
that.
got my love of like classic rock music. I mean, I was raised on a lot of like classic
Mhm,
rock music, but this film really put it in my forefront where I was like, yeah, Led Zeppelin and Van Halen and all that stuff. I was like that I'm all
mhm.
about it.
Which that was wild that they got Led Zeppelin to let them use
Yeah.
music in this because they do not let people use their music in movies very often. I guess it's just the immigrant song people use in the movies. But like the ACDC of it all.
Hmm.
I'm a big ACDC fan, so getting to hear that's a lot of fun. And I love the moment where he has the homework. I'm like, that's the kind of homework I would love to have from school. And like, it's just like, here's Rush 2112. And I'm like, I got my vinyl. I'm a big
Hmm.
Rush fan. And it's just like, listen to this, listen to the synthesizer solo on Yes's album here. I'm just like, this is so cool. And it's so funny and endearing, and like these kids, like this whole entire cast of kids is fantastic, and it's kind of wild seeing like um Miranda Cosgrove here,
Yeah.
who's probably the only one that's still like acting, to be honest, with her most recent revival of iCarly. But it's the kids are so great. They all have great personalities. They all stand out in their different ways. Jack Black is just channeling that energy. There, that one particular shot where he's just like telling them about his song, and it's just that
Hmm.
slow uh pull back of the camera, and that's all one shot. And like he had to nail that, and that's really
Yeah.
impressive. So, and also love Joan Cusack in this. Like, I would be friends with her. I would be
Hmm.
friends with Miss Mullins. Uh, I felt bad for her because the one moment where she was trying to be affectionate to their own, you want a hug? And she's like, no. I'm just like, oh no. She's trying.
She's doing
Soldier
her best.
doing her best. This this is such a fun film too, and just you have Mike White and Sarah Silverman like off to
Hmm.
the side. Like it's so strange seeing Sarah Silverman being the straight person to the whole entire
She
thing.
does such a good job with it.
Mhm,
She like because like I mean I'm not the biggest Sarah Silverman fan. I respect everything that she does. I think she's super funny, but I just don't like watch a lot of her stuff. So it is kind of fun seeing her in like a role that's so opposite of what she would normally does.
mhm.
And she plays it super well. Like you hate this woman's guts, but again, when I watch it, I'm like, oh yeah, it's just Sarah Silverman. She's playing the role. I like her a lot, you know.
Mhm. Well, and I think it's important with like Ned. He even goes on a nice little arc because she's constantly telling me, "Don't let him walk all over you.
Hmm.
That's my job. I'm the one walking all over you." And he finally gets that moment where he sticks up for himself. And like, there's so many fun moments, like him trying to do like the surfing the mosh pit, the
Hmm.
crowd surfing, and he just lands on that one guy and just crash and burns. Or
Yeah.
when they fire him from the band and he tries to kick the cymbal. Um, there's just so much great physical Jack Black comedy here.
Yeah.
And they have good arcs for quite a few of the kids. Like the main guitar kid whose dad's like super uptight. Um the young the young black woman who like finds her voice
Hmm.
and is self-conscious because she's overweight. And it's like Jack Black's is like, so am I, sister. And just like that endearing like reason, the fact that he keeps calling her turkey sub for like the
Hmm.
first third of the movie because she had food. Um, very relatable. Jack Black is just like, when's lunch? Um,
Also, this movie, to not to
yeah,
get you um, off subject, but this movie is super quotable.
yes.
There's so many amazing quotes in
Mhm.
this film. Like when he goes into the class for the first time and he's eating that sandwich and he's like, "Okay, I got a hangover. Does anybody know what that means?" He's like, "Does that mean you were drunk?" No, it means I was drunk yesterday. Like one of my favorite lines of a movie ever.
That's that goes that is top two favorite quotes about hangovers.
Hmm.
Up there with Archer saying, Lana, if I ever stop drinking, I feel like the collective hangover would kill me. Uh, and just like that moment is so great. And like they're all suffering from stick it to the monitis. Just like first, there is one big thing about this movie. Like, you really need to suspend your disbelief because
Hmm.
there's no way in hell this actually would all work out.
Oh
But
yeah, no way.
no way. But it's so much fun. And even like sticking through the credits where they're all saying it's a long way to the top if you want to rock and roll. And they're like, movie's over. What are you doing? And just like that whole entire experience, just this is such an endearing and fun film. And I doubt that this was nominated for an Oscar for original song, but it totally should have been because they made legit banger.
Yeah, it's a
Um,
good song.
their song, the School of Rock, is so much fun, and I love that performance at the end of the film. It's so good. Um, had I don't know if you've been around to like New York to go see like Broadway shows and stuff like that, but I saw the School of Rock show on Broadway.
Oh wow.
Um, my biggest gripe is you can't replace Jack Black. So like the whole entire time I'm just like, this Dewey just feels like he's trying too hard because he's
Hmm.
not Jack Black. And that's why I'm convinced that nobody else could have done this movie.
Yeah, I
Like
agree.
this character is Jack Black. Like I could see Jack Black actually doing this.
Like the only person that I could see who could have done this wouldn't even have been a possibility, but if they were still alive, I think Chris Farley maybe could have done a pretty good job.
I think he definitely would have
Maybe. I think he'd be a little
changed.
too old for the role, but I think he could have done a good job.
I think he definitely would have channeled the energy and stuff like that for sure.
Yeah,
Uh uh I miss Chris Farley.
me too.
Hmm. Like I rewatched Tommy Boy recently and like has some of that stuff aged very poorly? Yes. But like he's infinitely hilarious.
Still, some of them, like again, like what I said, one of the most quotable movies ever.
Mm, yeah. School of Rock is just such a fun time. I really do enjoy Jack Black's work with Richard Linklater in particular. Bernie, 100% a film that I think is extremely underrated and underseen, and more people should go watch Bernie.
Hmm.
He's so fantastic in that. But now Jack Black is so fully into I just make kids movies and stuff
Yeah,
like that at this
like
point.
stuff geared for kids, like the
Yeah.
Minecraft movie and Kung Fu Panda 10,000 or whatever he's on. I don't know.
I'll say one thing though, I could keep watching Kung Fu Panda movies over and over and over again. I
Haven't seen
didn't.
a single one.
I did not love the fourth one, but I did love "Hit Me, Baby, One More Time." His cover with Tenacious D that they made for the movie.
Haven't
Because
seen a single one.
um, the The first two, I think, are legitimately great, and I really, really love the third one too. The fourth one just kind of felt like, uh, I don't know if they should continue to keep making these movies at this point. But I'll be hopeful and I'll still see them. But no, now Jack Black is hearing the yearning from the mines.
Hmm.
He goes to Minecraft. I wish my nephews were closer. I would take them to see that. Otherwise, I'm just going to be a grown ass man sitting there watching this dumb Minecraft movie. Well, at least Jack Black's in it. But Jeff, do you have any other thoughts on School of Rock?
The only final thought that I have on it is that, like, this movie, if you kind of extend your disbelief a little bit more, like, it kind of is like a pseudo sequel to High Fidelity, because at the end Jack Black's character joins a band, and then in this one he's in the band and then he's doing all of his band stuff. So I kind of, if you just kind of forget the names, it kind of does work. But yeah.
Well, I could definitely see the character from High Fidelity
Yeah.
doing this, like 100% for sure. Just like gets kicked out of his band and then winds,
Hmm.
you know. I just even just like the little moments where he gets the phone call and he's just like, "Oh wait, Ned just walked in." You all can't see it, but I'm like
Hmm.
playing around, like wrapping the cord with the phone. He's like, "Hello, this Ned Schneebly,"
Yeah.
and just everything. He's just so committed to this and such a fun time. But that was a double dose of some music based movies that both happen to have Jack Black in it. And hopefully, you all have a fun time watching High Fidelity and School of Rock. But, Jeff, thank you as always for coming on and talking some movies with me.
Of course, anytime.
And next week, I'll be having my wife Jess on as we talk about The Guest and You're Next. So, a very specific period and some horror flicks, slasher flicks. I'm really looking forward to rewatching The Guest. And then Jeff and I next month will be talking about liberal arts and Very Good Girls, a couple of earlier Elizabeth Olsen films. And but thank you all for listening. Make sure to like, comment, and share on this episode. What are some of your favorite films that have a lot of music at the center of it? Or what are some of your favorite Jack Black performances? Make sure to follow or subscribe wherever you listen to your podcast. We have plenty of content now on the SPM Crew Podcasting Network, all kinds of stuff from movies to television to music to sports to trivia shows to Tolkien and all kinds of other stuff. And if you like our logo, make sure to check out High Flyer Creative and reach out with any of your digital marketing needs. Most importantly, thank you as always for tuning in and supporting the Wasteland Retrospective here on the SPM Crew Podcasting Network.